It's a brand new year filled with hope and possibilities. But as caregivers, we often find ourselves wondering how we can set goals when we can't even set our schedules. The responsibilities of caregiving, along with our roles as wives, partners, mothers, friends, all the things can make it challenging to prioritize our own self care. Hi, I'm Jeanette Yates, a lifelong caregiver who understands the challenging challenges of balancing self-care and the demands of caring for others. As a wife, a mother, and a primary caregiver for my mom, I once really struggled to find that time for myself amid all the endless to-do lists that never get done and that overwhelming caregiver guilt that never seems to go away. Through research, trial and error, and a lot of therapy, I discovered the power of self-care and learned how to prioritize my own needs without sacrificing the care I provide my loved ones. And now I help other caregivers do the same. So let's dive into resolutions and goal setting as caregivers. You know, it is easy to be overwhelmed with the responsibilities and struggling to prioritize our own self care. But guess what? This year, today, moving forward can be different and will be different. In this video, I'm going to share practical tips and strategies to help us take self-care goals and make self-care goals that actually stick, even with our busy schedules, even as our roles as caregiver, as friend, as coworker, all of those things. We'll discuss mindset shifts that you really need to make, practical steps that you can take, and the importance of having self-compassion through it all. So let's talk about mindset shift first, because after all, that is really where it's all going to start. It all starts here. And so we are going to do a couple of different mindset shifts while we're together here on this video. And so let's just walk through. I've got 3 mindset shifts for you to reframe how you think about your time and how you think about self-care. So the first thing I want you to think about, the first mindset shift you need to make is this. Say to yourself, I do have control over how I spend my time. Now, of course, we don't have total control or complete control, but we do have control over how we spend our time. So instead of saying, I don't ever have any time, let's switch to, I do have control over how I spend my time. Let's start acknowledging that we have the power to prioritize our own care, even in the midst of caregiving responsibilities. By recognizing that we have control over our time, we can make intentional choices to carve out moments for ourselves. This is not about carving out entire vacation schedules. This is starting with a mindset shift about that moment that you have control over. The second mindset shift you're going to want to make is the one, and this is a doozy, y'all. It is not selfish to take care of myself. It is time to debunk the myth that taking care of ourselves is selfish. It's not. It is necessary. It is how we live. It is literally how we stay alive. In fact, it is essential to our well-being and our ability to provide care to other people, be in community with other people, and have connections with others. So let's embrace the belief that we deserve the same care and attention that we give other people. And that brings me to the third mindset shift. And this is just my mantra that I say to myself, and I'm sharing it with you now. I am worthy of the same care I give others. It is easy for us to forget that our needs matter too. After all, there is always somebody that needs you, right? So how do you say, I need me more than someone else needs me? That is a really hard thing to say. But the truth is, we are not more important than anybody else, but we are as important as everyone else. We are worthy of the same care, the same love, and the same attention that we give our loved ones. By prioritizing self-care, we not only benefit ourselves, but of course, everyone around us. Now we're going to dive into some practical stuff. So we've got the mindset shifting. We're moving into let's get practical. Just saying those things in your mind is great, but that's not action, right? That's the first step. But now we've got to get some practical steps in here. So the first thing you need to do before you really can start to carve out that time. We're going to get to that in a minute. But the first thing you need to do is get clarity and be honest with yourself about your caregiving capacity. You need to know your limit. A lot of times we go into caregiving not really understanding what we're getting ourselves into. And we don't understand that at some point we're going to reach our limit. And we often don't understand until we're way past it. So it's really important. And maybe you're like, I'm there, I'm already past it. I get it. But we want to get clarity on our caregiving capacity. And of course, that changes through your seasons of life. As your health might change or the health of other people around you, your job changes, things like that. So it's always a good idea to reevaluate this during different seasons, but you got to get clarity on your caregiving capacity. How much time do we really have to give every day, every week, and every month, especially when it comes to caregiving, when there isn't a 5-day work week, a 40-hour work week? It's not like that. I know I've been a caregiver for 40 years. So, my entire life pretty much. And so there's not that sense of 5 years, 10 years. Sometimes we don't know that. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. It's really important to take the time and take a step back and assess your caregiving responsibilities realistically. Understanding the amount of time that we have available will help us set realistic self-care goals and caregiving goals, establish expectations with our loved ones and our loved ones' medical team, and avoid overcommitting ourselves. And this is really a big deal because you will need to know what you're capable of doing without spending all of yourself. Because right now, you might be dumping it all out. You're leaving it all on the field, but you're not taking care of yourself to be effective on the field, right? So that's what we really need is we really need to be honest about our own limits during a given season, honest about our own physical capacity for caregiving, time capacity for caregiving, and emotional capacity for caregiving. And all of those things are valid. Financial capacity for caregiving. All of those things are valid. And we want to get a handle on those things. Now, the second thing we want to do is now that we know our capacity, it's time to set our first time boundary. Now, setting the boundary is hard, but the hardest part of a boundary is actually holding it. We need to advocate for the time we need and set expectations. It's crucial to establish a specific time boundary for your self-care activities and communicate them with others involved in the caregiving responsibilities. And maybe you're like, there is no one else. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. Whether or not you're the only person that's giving care or there's a whole team of people, that doesn't negate your need to care for yourself. So carve out a time. It doesn't have to be all the time you need or all the time you want, but carve out a time that you can start with. Start with something. Let's advocate for the time that we need. And like I said, it may take time. You may not be able to get all the time you need right away, but start advocating, start speaking up, use your voice, set clear expectations, make that non-negotiable, ensuring that you have a dedicated time for yourself. Now, yes, as a caregiver, you're like, but what if something happens? What if an emergency happens? I get it. And this is what I did. I set my time goals, I set my boundaries, but I also, this is the third thing you'll want to do, is set these goals, but also practice self-compassion. Resilience comes when we practice not giving up, even when things don't go as planned. So you may have a time set and then an emergency will happen, but that doesn't mean that you can't go back to that time the next day or maybe later in the day or when you can. Don't give up on yourself. Just have a little compassion, create those goals, create those boundaries, but also have that grace for yourself when you don't hold the boundary, whether it's for a good reason or maybe you just said yes when you meant to say no. Hold it with grace. Try again. That is resilience. Setting achievable self-care goals is important, but we also must remember that as caregivers, we have to be flexible and adaptable. Life as a caregiver is unpredictable. That's the only thing we can predict about it, right? And there are so many times when plans need to change. But instead of giving up, let's practice self compassion and find alternative ways to prioritize our well being. You guys, I'm going to do a whole other video on how to manage that self-care during those crisis times, but suffice it to say, we do have alternatives that we can incorporate into our well-being even when our schedule changes. That's all about having those goals with grace and having that self-compassion so we can be resilient and come back to the self-care we need. And then the fourth thing that you're going to want to do to make sure that you have a goal that sticks, that you can come back to, even when you maybe drop it off for the day, but you want to keep coming back, is to make sure that you're doing something with your time, that you have set that boundary for, that you have set those expectations for, that if you've given yourself compassion for, make sure to do something with that time that you actually enjoy. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, and enjoy that time. No guilt, whether it's 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 5 hours, right? No guilt during that time, because a lot of times that self-care that we even are doing for ourselves, we can't enjoy it, and it doesn't really count if we don't believe we deserve it and we feel guilty about it. When you have a dedicated time for self-care, choose activities that nurture both your body and mind. Engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. That's really essential. And remember, self-care, it's not a luxury. It's not selfish. It is necessary. It is a necessity in your life. It is a necessity for living. Let's enjoy our well-deserved time. And let me be clear, when I say well-deserved time, I don't mean because you've done something, but because you are a human. You deserve, you are worthy of taking time for yourselves without feeling guilty and letting it go, right? Let's just go do it and don't feel guilty about it. So join me on this journey as we prioritize our self-care, set achievable goals, and practice self-compassion. Together, we can embrace the power to make positive changes in our lives while still caring for our loved ones. It is possible. I'm here. I've done it, and I'm going to help you do it too. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found these tips helpful. Remember, you deserve to take care of yourself just as much as you take care of others. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos on self-care for caregivers, and check the description for more resources on self-care for busy caregivers. I've got you.